We're about halfway through this event so far, and most of the opinions I've seen from people online about this event, aka the Labrynth Festival, are overwhelmingly negative. You can look at YouTube comments, the Master Duel subreddit, Twitch streamers, and their Twitch chats. No matter where you look, if you see someone they're playing this event right now, they're probably having a bad time. Me, I'm no exception. I've just finished facing my 9th lap opponent in 10 duels, and the one non-lap opponent I faced was Time Lords. You know, they're just a definition of a fun matchup, right? The worst part is that this is far from the only event that people hate. There's always a few common problems or complaints when there's an unpopular festival that shows up, and thankfully not every festival is as bad as this, but the ones that are bad, they're really bad. So the first problem is that obviously it looks like these festivals are made just to promote new cards from the new sets that were just added into the game. Like, clearly this event was made to promote Labrynth, right? But remember, like, the second festival in the game we had, the Synchro Festival, which was released right after we got the Synchron Selection Pack with a bunch of URs, UR Synchron cards, or the Fusion Festival right after they released DPE and the first wave of Despia support. There's nothing wrong with promoting new cards, but it's gets to be a bigger problem in the context of festivals where you already have pretty restrictive ban lists. Like, it's one thing to make a ban list where Labrynth is just like the strongest, is a strong deck, but it's another thing if it's not only if it's a strong deck, but it's a strong deck because there's only like 5 other decks that are legal, like, at all in the event. And that way you're not obligated to play Lab because just because it's strong, like, you're obligated to play because what are your other options, really? Like, two of your other options are Dark World and Evil Eye, who are also cards that appear in the new pack. And of course, you know how many URs cards, how many new Labrynth cards are URs, and how many URs the deck actually needs. And you don't have to use your own cards at all, fortunately. For the events, there are loaners. Well, usually. The loaner situation in this event is not... It's not as bad as it could be. There were events in the past where loaners were completely unplayable, and you realistically could not finish the event using them, which means you had to use your own cards, and you had to cobble together a pile of 40 cards from like the bottom of the scrap heap if you didn't actually own a legal deck. Which, as I mentioned before, with the way these balance are crafted, there's a very high chance that you probably will not have a legal deck if you didn't splurge on the new pack yet. And there's at least with this event, there's one loaner you can use to conceivably finish this event with. It's the Lab loaner. It's obviously it's way worse than a constructed Lab deck, but that's completely fine. This is a free these are free cards that you get to use. You don't have to pay for them, so of course it's gonna be worse than like a constructed Lab deck. However, like, people want to play events for more than just gems, right? Obviously, gems come first and foremost, but really, people want a good event, an enjoyable event to play, because it's the only other format to play in this game, right? If it's not ranked ladder, the only other really way to play this game is through events. The casual ladder, the casual system is like a joke. That, like, hardly anybody plays it. Like, I've had 30-second queue times to queue into games before, and when you queue into the games, you queue into just people trying to learn how to play the new meta deck they just built and spend 5 minutes on the turn doing so, and then leave inexplicably when they mess up once. That there's really no incentive to play casual matches at all. So it's really it's only events and ladder. And people want to play events because it's a change of pace from the ladder, and specifically the things that people don't like about ladder are playing the same decks over and over again, and like playing a format where the power level is so high that the games are way too dependent on whoever wins the coin flip and goes first. Like remember the start of Tier 0 format with the Ishizu Tearlament a couple months ago? Just how many Ishizu Tearlament decks you faced in ladder and in like the World Championship qualifiers if you've even played in that? Well, so like think of the number of those decks you played and then realize that during this event, Labrynth is being played almost, I feel like, as much as the Ishizu Tearlament was during the Tier 0 format. During the height of the Tier 0 format, like the first couple months. I wouldn't be, like, I know there are not really any public stats out, but I wouldn't be surprised if you include the loners of, like, Labrynth decks you face in this event are even more common than the Ishizu Tier was during the Tier 0 format. And that's, obviously, for an event, that's unacceptable. Like, that was one of the lowest points of Master Duel for a lot of people. Where realistically you could play, like, the problem was you could only play like 4 decks, and with one of those decks being clearly better than the rest, and every non-tier deck was loaded up with anti-tier or graveyard cards to try and compete. And if that's not an apt description of this event right now, like, I don't know what this. There's very few playable decks with one deck, Lab, reaching like what, near Tier 0 representation, and every single deck that's being played in this event playing blowout cards like Evenly Duster and Lightning Storm. So collateral damage is, it's really hard to play any other back row deck because you're just gonna get blown out, and you probably don't play around Evenly Duster or Lightning Storm and have as robust of a resource loop as Lab does. And Ash, because of this balance, like the most common way to deal with Lab before and later Welcome Pass was Ash Blossom, and that's not even legal this event. So really, good luck trying to go second versus Lab without drawing and resolving a blowout card, and hoping that they don't loot that card out of your hand first. It's no wonder why so many people hate events like this, because it's like, this is eerily similar to one of the most hated Master Duel formats of all time, really. So, for those of you who have played the majority of this event with the Lab Loner, I commend you. Because the few games that I've played with the Lab Loner, they feel horrendous. Especially when it's a mirror match like this. Because I know I don't run anti-lab cards, and they don't run anti-lab cards. So whoever goes first is at such an advantage. They get to activate their cards. My turn, I normal summon a card, and I guess I don't get to play because they get to Welcome Labrynth, the Lovely Labrynth, pop my card, and then hand loot me for 1. And honestly, I should have set a big welcome. That was a misplay. At the same time, like, what am I gonna do with 1 Welcome Labrynth against their deck, against their board right now? I don't know. I feel like it's like a lot of times it's just more prudent to just go next. Like, if you lose the die roll and you don't open Clock plus Trap, it's almost like not worth playing the Loner going second versus Lab. That just feels awful. And look, now I get to go first. So, my opponent summons out their Lady Lab, and honestly, it does not matter because I get the Coup Clock set up to set Big Welcome. Get out my Silver Lady, get out Big Welcome. I forgot that you can chain block Big Welcome with a Lady Lab with your own Lady Lab, but like, that doesn't even matter that I can't set a trap, because the moment Lovely comes out, I get to pop the back row that they set and then reset the Lady Labrynth and draw 2 cards. Like how is that? Like what if you're playing the Loner deck yourself? What are you supposed to do against that, right? Oh yeah, you get Stormy Mirror Force the moment you try to play the game. you get one of your set cards pop or hand looped. I get to draw another 2 cards, and then Kuhlok activate the nice. They made the time constantly the time efficient decision to simply move on. So yeah, if you wanna, if you're curious about which decks I've used that aren't the Lab Loner to complete this event, as someone who doesn't own a dedicated Fairy or Fiend deck like DDDs or Evil Eyes or Dark Worlds or stuff like that, I have 2 videos about what I used, but honestly, I feel like the most like an event is awful when it's arguably faster to just scoop every game you go second in, because if you don't see a blowout card versus Lab, you're not breaking that with their board with your legal decks this event.